Okay, I want to welcome everybody to the continuation of our live series about professional mindset. Looks like I'm about a minute or so early, but that's okay because that's the great part about live sessions, right? You can get started almost at any time. So hopefully nobody will miss anything as we're chiming in, but I have the pleasure of working with Dr. Mindy Sloan this afternoon, and she's going to be answering a few of the questions, just like we talked about last night with Mr. Conesco. If you didn't get a chance to attend the live, please take a look back at the video that did record and is posted both on our Facebook channel. It's also on our YouTube channel as well. And soon we will be doing some podcasts. So we will be releasing those on a podcast channel, most likely SoundCloud, but something to that extent, and where we present the audio for everyone to see. Or can't see, it's live. You can listen to it though. So, with that being said, let me talk to you and do a little introduction about Dr. Sloan. So, Dr. Mindy Sloan, excuse my notes here, they don't want to work with me today. Dr. Sloan's career has been focused on using education to make the world a better place. She's served learners of diversity in the Appalachian Mountains of Eastern Kentucky, the California Youth Authority, PK through 12th grade school districts, Ashford University, the University of the Rockies, Brandman University, and Bradley University. As a faculty member and an administrator, Mindy has pioneered several strategies to effectively engage at-risk learners, providing 24/7 learning supports that increase student success. She's created predictive models to diagnose and prescribe specific interventions that provide improved, student learning, and has been elected as faculty senator and faculty body president at various individual universities and such. Her graduate degrees are in educational and counseling psychology, and she is a licensed school psychologist, school administrator, and special educator. Mindy is a lead reviewer for the Council on Exceptional Children, the Council for the Accreditation of Educator Preparation, a member of site visit teams for the Accrediting Commission for Schools, Western Association of Schools and Colleges, and on the board of institutional reviewers for the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing. Lastly, Dr. Sloan is a minister, of metaphysical sciences. Dr. Sloan, I want to thank you and welcome you to today's video. I am so honored to have you with me, and I look forward to kind of discussing the idea of mindset with you, right? I think it's a wonderful thing, and I love hearing the various persons' definitions of what is professional mindset, how does it make individuals successful, what are some tools, etc. So with that being said, why don't you tell us a little bit about what is your definition of the professional mindset?
Thanks, Dr. Ferris. When I think of a professional mindset, I really think of a growth mindset. I think about opportunities for us as leaders, as servant leaders, to develop and improve and further serve those around the globe so that we can bring educational opportunities to all learners. I reflect on and actually quite admire and am influenced by the work of Carol Dweck, a professor at Stanford, who had worked for over 30 years doing research with children and saw that there were significant differences in student performance based on the kind of praise that they got. And what she found and describes in her book in 2017, she wrote a bestseller called Mindset, The New Psychology of Success. And it described what's called a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. Children who had a fixed mindset believed that their intellectual abilities determined the outcomes of their success. And when they were praised in that way, what Dr. Dweck found is that over time, children who really relied upon their intelligence to succeed didn't do as well as children who were what we call living a growth mindset, it was actually the children who were praised for effort, who were able to achieve the most during the years of her study. And so what I'll talk about for just a minute, if you don't mind, is I'll contrast the difference between having a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, because I think it's important. When a person with a fixed mindset sees a goal, they believe that looking smart will achieve that goal. So looking intelligent all the time, appearing as if they're very intelligent to those around you or around them. A growth mindset child will understand that it's about learning and improving. So their goal is to learn and improve, not just look smart to everybody around them. When effort is examined, children who have a fixed mindset see effort as very negative because they believe that their abilities should suffice. And if their abilities don't suffice, then they failed. A child in a growth mindset will see effort as a very positive thing, something that will get them what they need to get. In terms of challenges, when children in a fixed mindset see a challenge, they'll run the other direction and avoid it at all costs. Someone with a growth mindset will actually seek out the challenge because they understand the challenge is what's going to allow them to grow. When there are setbacks, a child with a fixed mindset will feel helpless, but a child with a growth mindset will feel resilient, bounce back, come back, understanding there are new opportunities. When a child in a fixed mindset is criticized, they become very defensive. But when someone with a growth mindset is criticized, they take that as a learning opportunity and they see what they can use from that information to improve. Children in a fixed mindset see others' successes as a threat. And they need to compete in that circumstance. But children with a growth mindset see it as an opportunity to learn from somebody because someone else has demonstrated skills that they too can learn and exhibit. So when life challenges come along and a fixed mindset student sees the challenges and believes that they've become a failure in many ways, they become very, very depressed. But those who grab onto and own and live a growth mindset will become increasingly resilient. So they bounce back, they become stronger all the time. So I believe that's the kind of professional mindset that we should all seek to have, that growth mindset, knowing we can get better every day, and that the goal is really to be on the path and to understand that it's our effort that will oftentimes lead to the greatest successes.
Wow, that's wonderful. Thank you for that definition, that description. And it's interesting. I can't wait. I think that we can at some point in another series maybe branch off on that a little further. But as today, since we're focusing on just the professional mindset, we won't get there. But with that in mind, and everyone that is listening and watching to us today, if you have questions or would like more from Dr. Sloan about that definition, the growth mindset versus the fixed, please leave us some comments in the chat, whether you're on, again, YouTube, Facebook, or maybe even on LinkedIn, okay? Because I invited some people from LinkedIn today. Dr. Sloan, if you could describe the professional mindset and how one creates that, how would you do so?
Well, you want to identify your goals. And I don't just mean short-term goals. I mean much longer-term goals. What is it that you want? What do you want to do with your life, actually? And then identify your strengths. Believe it or not, you want to play on your strengths. It doesn't mean denying your weaknesses, but it means that you spend more time developing those strengths, understanding that you're going to be able to contribute in unique, creative, and effective ways by using your strengths. And then you surround yourself with people who can complement you. So you want to pick and choose people and choose to associate with people who are strong where you are not. But you don't want to spend a lot of time worrying about your weaknesses and focus only on them, because your true contribution is going to be in the areas of your strength. Then you look at your odds of success, and you're very strategic about this. You look at what path you can take, which is most aligned with your values, most aligned with your strengths, and you increase your likelihood of success by going down a path that's more in alignment. You also focus on what you can do right now. It might be the smallest step, but you take that step now. You take the action that you can now, and you celebrate and you leverage every resource that's available to you. So rather than sitting around and thinking, oh, I could do so much better if only I had blah, 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 more money or more time, and I was at a different, no, celebrate the resources that you have available to you right now. Leverage them. So accept your imperfections. Understand that this is about growth. It might take time, but it's about the effort that you put forward, understanding who you are and what your strengths are, what you can contribute, and bringing in others who can augment and complement your strengths.
And, I think that's a very wonderful concept. And, with this being part of the American Heritage College series, I think that's been a wonderful thing that we've been able to accomplish through the college. And it is to focus on those strengths. But it's very interesting because that plays so different from what we were taught growing up, at least from my mindset, right? Because I think we were always told that, you want to be the strongest, you want to be the smartest, you want to be this, you want to be that. And, still to this day, even in interviews, what do we always ask? It's the age-old question of, what are your weaknesses, right? So we're not focusing so much on our strengths, or we don't help people enough to understand that the professional mindset and the strengths are where it's at. Now, again, that's my perspective on the subject. How has a professional mindset played a part in your career?
It's been absolutely the difference between success and failure. And I would say that's been particularly true, probably not just for me, but for so many over the last year with COVID. We have had so many challenges presented to us as individuals and collectively. And really what it's taken is all of us to look at each of our strengths. And again, go back to that idea where we can complement one another and really think outside the box, really think about how we can do things differently. A person in a growth mindset is going to take risks because they see failures as successes in that they provide opportunities to learn and improve and do better moving forward. So the last year in particular, but I would say throughout my career, I've been in organizations that have had to cut back on resources. Sometimes that meant losing people that we worked with. That didn't change the mission. In an educational organization, it does not dilute your focus on really improving the lives of students. And so you need to remember your values and your goals are to show up every day to help those students to do the best that you can and to actually sometimes learn from students. And if you don't mind, Dr. Ferris, I'm going to tell a quick story because a person with a growth mindset learns from everyone around them.
As you can see, guys, in the live world, everything is game, right? My apologies. And Dr. Sloan has met that cat before, so my apologies, everyone in the live world. But I think she heard your voice, Dr. Sloan. So my apologies. Continue.
He's a show kitty.
Exactly.
It's been a little while ago. I teach an online stats course, and I've taught it for a number of years. And it's one of those classes I teach it because students have so much anxiety around stats. And I like to help them build more confidence and feel empowered and know they can do statistics. It's really not as hard as it appears to be. So I had a student not too long ago. I'm going to call her Veronica, the name I'll give her for the purposes of this story. Mm-hmm. And she was doing quite well in class. And then for about a week or so, she didn't show up, which was highly unusual. And then all of a sudden I heard from her. And she said, Dr. Sloan, I'm so sorry. I've had so many stresses going on in my personal life. I haven't been able to focus on class. I apologize. I'm going to get back on track. I just want you to know that my heart is in this and I do want to succeed. And so well, what's going on in your life, Veronica? And she explained that She had a boyfriend who was a vet. He tried to hurt himself. So he was in a facility and he was going to be fine, but she had a lot of anxiety around that, worrying about her boyfriend. She also went on to explain that they lived in the cab of a semi-truck. So if you've ever been in the cab of a semi-truck and you've seen there's a bunk bed sometimes in the back with a microwave or a television or something, that's where she and her boyfriend lived, and they'd lived there for about 3 years, parked on an empty lot. Veronica had 2 jobs. She'd get off her second job about 9 at night, and her boyfriend would be at home waiting for her at the truck, and they would walk 3 or 4 blocks down the street. And she was having anxiety because he wasn't there to walk with her, but they would walk 2 or 3, 4 blocks down the street to a fire station.
Mm.
And the firefighters at that fire station were allowing Veronica to use their computer. And that's how Veronica had been completing her programs. She had 3 courses left. So when I think about growth mindset and our opportunities to learn from others, I think about Veronica.
Mm-hmm.
She took advantage of every single resource she had available to her. She looked at her long-term goal. She looked at what strengths that she had. She reached out to others who could complement her in her areas of need. And she just stayed on her path. So there are heroes out there that can influence us no matter what our role is, no matter what role they have, and help us all to grow in our own mindset and, meet the needs of our communities.
Mm. That's a that's a wonderful story. And, I think that those of us that have been educators probably have a lot of those stories that we could share, but thank you for doing that because, I was going to ask you a question about, or ask you to describe how one maintains a professional mindset within a challenging situation, or setting, and you just answered that for us. You showed that if there is that end goal in mind, that we can definitely do it as long as we can maintain it. So thank you for sharing that with us. Now, for those of you that are listening into the live session today, do you have any stories that you would like to share of someone that has shown that mindset, that growth mindset, professional mindset? How has that impacted you? How do you think you can utilize their experiences to help you develop that mindset? Okay. There are often times that we all lose track of the professional mindset. Not all, excuse me, I shouldn't say that. I can say most, me being one of them. And of course, having done that, it happened to me. But I used some tools, and one of these days I'll share my story, but this isn't mine. This is my chance to use other professionals for them to share about themselves. Why do you think, Dr. Sloan, that the professional mindset, why do you think it's important for people to use it in their daily life, not just in certain situations, but daily?
I think that having a professional mindset is really about being healthy in mind, body, and spirit, very holistically. And that if our life is fragmented, we're going to see our weaknesses lead over into other aspects of your life. So for example, I've seen situations where someone seemed to be very competent at work, had a very effective professional mindset, met all the goals, high achieving person, would come home and yell at their children, had a very dysfunctional family, a lot of friction and conflict when that person got home. That isn't going to result in long-term success for that person. Mm-hmm. So professional mindset is a term that I think is very appropriate in the workplace, but it's really speaking to something which is much deeper and much broader for each of us. Wow. And that's recognizing that we need to be whole. We need to take care of ourselves. We need to be authentic in our strengths, in our values, in the path that we walk, and our ability to put forth our very best in terms of effort in all walks of life. And I'll give you an example too. And I'm not a football expert, Terry, so I apologize in advance, but I did
That is
see
okay.
the last 7 minutes of the Super Bowl last weekend, and I saw Tom Brady, 42 years old, just won his 7th Super Bowl. How many times do you think he'd been told to quit, or someone pointed out his weaknesses? He is walking professional mindset. He is walking growth mindset. But I believe that he's doing it through the entirety of his life. And the reason I believe that is because I got to see the videos of what he did when the game ended. He chose to go find his family. And watching his family come down the stand and walk across the field and look for him, watching them look for each other, and the way they responded, the hugs they gave each other, the looks on their faces, the kisses, the full family embrace that I saw his wife give, all of them together, told me that this is a man who has a growth mindset. It's just a part of who he is. And because of that, he succeeds in all aspects of his life. So do I think we should use it? Absolutely. Every single day in every way that we can, because I believe that we will ultimately be stronger, more effective, not just at work, but with those we love.
Yeah. You know, and I think that's a very excellent example, because I don't know that, you know, for people who don't follow football, I mean, Mr. Brady was an individual that was a 6th round draft pick.
Wow.
Most 6th round draft picks don't make it in the NFL. Okay. And so for him to go from maybe never playing to being basically one of the greatest of all time, that is I think that is a true definition of a positive mindset. Growth mindset, you know, because of the fact that he's still going, still believes, and still works on, you know, I believe that he takes care of not only his mind, but his body physically, right? In the way he approaches his exercise, his eating habits, the family. But anyway, again, totally off topic. But I am a sports guy, so you get me talking about sports. Guess what happens? Describe from your perspective how one's professional mindset may evolve over time, and why you think that is important.
I think it needs to evolve. I think we as individuals and as a collective need to evolve. I mean, a professional mindset should be transformational. We may have our core basic values that we maintain throughout our lives, but we're going to change how we demonstrate those values. We're going to change how we contribute to making the world a better place, because ideally those strengths that we talked about earlier in this interview should become even stronger. And as we begin to define them, become more confident in those strengths, we can see more ways to apply them. I think a professional mindset and a growth mindset are beautiful things because they really speak to the power of free will. The ability for us to impact our futures. We are not helpless victims. We each come into this world with specific strengths. And I believe that we have a responsibility, almost a moral responsibility, to recognize and grow in those areas. We are not perfect. We're not going to be great at everything, but there's a reason for that. If we were great at everything, we'd have no other people in our lives. And we need to have people in our lives. We need to come from a team, collective, family kind of orientation as we try to solve world problems. So as we step forward, we want to step forward as stronger, more effective, more loving people. And in order to do that, we've got to continuously transform. We've got to continuously evolve. We've got to continuously reflect and stay committed to a professional mindset, a growth mindset, to transformation.
That's so beautiful. So if you could speak to your younger self, even though we are 20 somethings now.
True.
If you could speak to your younger self, what would you try to instill in yourself as it is related to mindset?
I would, looking back, things that it's taken me longer to learn is to listen to my own voice more. Don't hurt people, come from a place of love, but trust the voice, your inner voice. Celebrate your strengths more. Don't worry so much about your imperfections. Really, really celebrate those strengths more. Understand that you're going to have failures.
Yes.
There's no reason to fall apart. In fact, you should expect them and you should embrace them and you should be grateful for them because they're opportunities to grow and grow and grow. So if I look back
Wow.
at my younger self, I would have been kinder to myself.
Mhm.
I also would have, and I think this is really, really important, I wouldn't have competed with others. My goal is to compete with myself. It's not the media images put forward to us by television or by movies about how we're supposed to be. It really is about us being the best we can be as each individual. So that's the wish I guess I would have for everybody else. Know how loved you are, know how perfect you are, know how meaningful you are, and that your strengths really can make a difference.
Thank you for that. That's wonderful advice, and I have to concur with you when it comes to that because I look at it every day, and I have to be thankful. And you get those negative thoughts. I think that you're right. We get those negative thoughts sometimes, and we put ourselves down. We don't do it to others. But sometimes we still do, or at least I still do that. And it's now that I have a mindset about it, though. When I start to find myself doing it, I stop it. Whereas when I was younger, right, I think I would have just continued on that path and I would have just kept talking negatively to myself. So thank you. That's something I think when I go back in time one of these days that I will share with my younger self, right? Because we are on a path in technology where I think we can do it sometime. No, I don't know for sure, but that would still be fun. So anybody that's listening in to any of the questions that I've given today, and I'm sure you're going to see a pattern. I think a lot of the questions I ask, while they are the same questions, everyone's going to have a different response. Everybody's going to find how to define mindset for themselves. Everyone's going to define how they would describe it to somebody. So the thing I always want people to understand about the professional mindset is we can read about it. We can give it a definition. But you have to find the definition that works for you so you can have the mindset. That's the whole purpose of this series. It's for us to help others find their mindset if they're missing it, to help you all become better people, to help us become better. Because I will tell you, every day I'm on here with Dr. Sloan, with Mr. Konesko, regardless of who the person might be, I get to come away with something. I get to learn. And that's what I hope this does for you. Now, obviously, we at American Heritage College would love to be able to continue to help you grow in your professional mindset, growth mindset, in getting prepared for whether it's a new career, changing career, etc. If you want more information, just reach out to us via the tools where we are presenting to you. Now, one of the things I'd like to do before we go, Dr. Sloan, I'd like to give you a moment, actually. We were discussing before we went live, you have an upcoming workshop that you're going to hold. And if you wouldn't mind, can you share a little bit about that workshop that's upcoming?
Absolutely. It's on February 27th, which is a Saturday. Everyone's welcome. It's free. What I'm really hoping folks will walk away with is a belief that they each have creative abilities. And I ask you asked me, Terry, if I can remember when I was younger. I would ask everyone who's listening right now or watching right now to remember a time when they were young, when they felt very free to create. Maybe they were picking mud up and playing with water and seeing what they could make and throwing it across the yard. Maybe they were just looking up at stars at night and imagining, or clouds, and imagining the shapes that they saw. Maybe they were drawing on the walls of their mom's house with crayons when they shouldn't. There was a time when we were just creating, we were singing, we were moving around, and we didn't feel judged. And then somehow we got into school and somebody told us, or we saw that a tree had to be green and the sun had to be yellow, and our voice wasn't that great, and we really weren't that good at dancing, and we started to conform, and we stopped becoming creative. And what I'm hoping that people walk away with is a sense that they are creative beings, that creativity is our natural state. We were born doing it. And by tapping into our creativity, we're going to find solutions. We need solutions for today's problems. And I think that each of us, by looking inside, recognizing and remembering our creativity and expressing it in a way that brings us health, well-being, and joy, will ultimately result in solutions to some of today's problems. So I would love it if folks would come in, share their ideas, share their dreams, share their problems. Maybe we'll talk about, what some solutions might be, but it really is a time about remembering that we can create.
Thank you so much. I actually look forward to attending, and believe it or not, I actually spoke to somebody today that says I'm going to be attending that because I'm looking forward to it. So that's so wonderful to hear. Well, I want to thank you for your time this afternoon, this morning, this evening, depending on where someone is on this lovely earth that we live on. And if you guys have questions, we're here for you. Dr. Sloan, thank you again. I cannot wait to have you on as a guest on one of our other series that we will be creating and talking about, especially with the world of education. I can't wait till we start talking about that world and trying to solve the problems. But anyway, with that, we would like to end today's call. Again, Dr. Sloan, thank you. And have a wonderful afternoon.
You too, Terry. Everybody have a great weekend.
Thank you. All right. Take care.